Hi, I'm Jim Semick from ProductPlan. In this talk, I give 12 great questions that product managers can ask customers and prospects during interviews. I've learned that a few well-phrased questions can yield fantastic customer insights. The results can make a big difference in the features you include on your product roadmap. So the first question, okay, it's kind of a gimme. It's why. So the reason I put this one first is because this ultimately is the most important question in your arsenal. And it is infrequently used. I've heard product managers interacting with customers, and a customer will provide an answer to a question, and the product manager will often take that at face value. Okay? So product managers really should be investigators. They should be trying to figure out, like, what is the real reason why they said yes, or what is the real reason why they wanted this particular feature. So why is the most important question you can ask. So how many people have heard the 5 whys? Okay, a few of you. So in the Lean Startup methodology, Eric Ries proposes this concept of the 5 whys. And it's a method where every time the customer provides an answer to you, you ask the question, why? You don't have to just say it bluntly like that, why? But you can ask around that, and you can get, and through that process, you can get to the underlying reason, the real reason. Second question, how do you do that today? I love this one because if someone says, I need a product to do X, explain to me how you do that today. And this, in particular, is fantastic for in-person interviews. If you think, I'm sure a lot of you have heard the Intuit story, the Follow Me Home program that they did. So when they had boxed software, they actually had their product managers and, well, the founders of the company in the beginning, stand in the software aisle and watch people take the software, right, and literally would pay for the software for them in exchange for letting them follow them home. Show me how you do this, okay? And so you could do that with your existing product today, or you could do it with whatever solution they have in place today. So if you're looking to displace a competitive solution, for example, or maybe you're considering adding a feature or some sort of feature to your product that you don't have today. So understanding how they do that today is really quite important. Okay, so this is a really good one, again, for understanding motivation. So this applies to business owners. It can apply to mostly in the B2B world, but this could also work in the B2C world. How do you know that you've had a successful day, month, year, week, that sort of thing? So I'll go back to property management space, and I have some other examples as well. This is a fantastic one to ask the business owner who ultimately would be purchasing the software product. Okay? So their metrics might be different than you expect. Okay? You can probably see a trend here with these questions. I really try to be empathetic when I'm asking questions, and I try to get inside the head of my customer. And how do you feel about your current solution, about the price, about the Mets, about whatever, right? So how do you feel about it? And this is not a question that you just simply ask right off the bat. Some of these questions are questions that you get to after you've established the rapport, after you've asked the demographic questions that you might want to ask them. How big is your company? Tell me a little bit about your job. What's the weather like? That sort of thing. And then you can start to lead into questions like this. So, what's the most frustrating thing? So if you're asking about a particular job function, if you're asking about a workflow that they have, trying to understand what is most frustrating to them, this often will elicit some great responses. Okay? You can also ask this about the competitors. So if you're considering displacing a competitor, or you're considering putting in a feature that the competitors have and you don't. And maybe you're talking to someone who's using a competitive product. This is a good one. Okay? So you can start to kind of hone in on areas of competitive products that that you could potentially make a difference in. So I use this quite extensively when I validated GoToMeeting. So we talked to a number of customers with competitive products that you can probably guess what those are. And so we asked, what is the most frustrating thing about product X? And they would tell us. What do you wish that you could do with something that you can't do today? Okay. So how many of you have ever used the if you could wave a magic wand question? That's a pretty standard product management question. If you could wave a magic wand, how would things be different, right? With a particular product or a job function or what have you. And this is a derivative of that question. What do you wish that you could do with this feature that you can't do today? All right, how would your day be different if you had this? So this is a good one for understanding the before and after. So if you are releasing a particular feature and now you're talking with a customer about this feature, how would their life be different because of it? Are they going to save time? Are they going to make money? Are they going to be happier? What is it that they're going to get out of this? Now, of course, if somebody can't answer this question, right, you should probably question why you're introducing a feature, right? Because that feature should make a difference in some way. All right. If you solve that problem, how much money will you save or make? Okay. So it doesn't always have to be around money, too. It could be time saved or time or hassle avoided. How many people are familiar with the business model canvas? Okay, a couple of people. So, yeah, it's great. It's
and the other one, the value prop canvas is also fabulous.
That's good too. Yeah. So the guy who created the business model canvas, which is a way of creating a business model. And a business model is more than the product. It has all these different categories. He's now created what's called the value proposition designer. So if you are introducing a new product and you're trying to think about how you want to position that product, this value proposition designer is a great one. And this ties in very much with this. What are the pains and what are the gains? How is your product going to make their life better? How is it going to save time? How is it going to make money? How is it going to relieve pain? Okay, so those sorts of questions are really good. Okay, here's a good one. So if somebody asks you for something, you can say, give me an example. This is along the lines of, how are you doing this today? But asking for examples of how people might use a particular feature, or if people are asking for a particular if they're asking for a particular feature, you can ask them for examples about how they're doing it today. All right, so this is one of my favorites for new product development. Okay, now, a lot of product management is, as you all know, is nuance. It's very rare that there is black and white, apart from metrics that you might collect, right? You know how many people are converting from trial to paid. But for feature creation and new product development, it's very gray and fuzzy. And so when you ask questions like this, you're not going to get an absolute yes or no. And you know that if somebody says yes, that may or may not be the truth. But this question here is still a good question to ask. So if you are proposing a new product or a new premium feature, and ask this question near the end of the conversation, and then this is not a binary yes or no answer. Again, ask the question, will you buy this? And then sit back and wait for the answer. And let there be some uncomfortable silence. All right, why would you recommend our solution to others? So how many of you have heard of Net Promoter Score? Okay, so this is the ultimate question that you can ask someone, and this is really good for win-loss interviews. Okay, you know, you can ask the inverse of this. Why wouldn't you recommend our product? Okay, so if you're doing a loss analysis, for example, and you're interviewing customers that have churned out or stopped using your product, this is a really good one. Okay. All right, and the last one. So I've always found that when you're proposing a new product or a brand new feature, people are very excited about it, right? You're kind of spelling out the vision for this thing. People can get on board, and they're nodding their head, and they're saying, yeah, that sounds pretty great. This question helps you understand their likelihood of actually taking action based on that. So let's talk about some of your priorities for 2016. So where would solving this problem that we've just talked about fall on that priority list? Okay? And if it's, you know, number 4 or 5, you're probably okay. If it's not on the list to begin with, or if it's number 20, you know, you might have some challenges ahead of you. So, so this in particular is a really good one for gauging how important of a problem your customer thinks that this is.